Hello, it's me. I don't know why I'm acting like this is serious. So you clicked on the video because you saw something from your childhood, right? And if you didn't, well, too bad. Today we're going to be talking about a disappearance of an icon, a flash icon, that being the visitor. Now you might be wondering, who is the visitor? Well, it's this thing, this thing right here. It's a little worm-type alien from a Flash game that is also called the Visitor. Now, the Visitor is a very strange thing because it was one of the more popular Flash games, played by Jacksepticeye, Markiplier, and all those other guys. And here's the thing, though. Um, the Visitor was very popular, like very popular. Like a lot of people were playing this game. Yet, strangely enough, it is often forgotten about because, like, you can't even look up on TikTok and be like, "Oh, there it is." No, no, look, like even like with stuff like Puppet Master, like I'm gonna search that up on TikTok and like there's some of it, but with Visitor there's like almost nothing. Like there's nothing, nada. But the main thing I came to talk about is here: why is it gone? Who is responsible for the thing? What made it Visitor? So without further ado, let's check out the first Visitor game. Okay, now keep in mind I have never played the game, so yeah, I don't have words. I've had always seen people play the game, Markiplier and all those guys. I personally watched Jacksepticeye play the game myself. But you see, here's the thing. When I say it was popular, I mean it. The first game and its sequel, they were both pretty popular. They were played by a bunch of people. But there's one specific YouTuber we're gonna focus on, and that's this guy right here. His name is Double G. He's a YouTuber with a strange accent. I don't know what from country. Jesus Christ. I don't know what country he's from, but he has an accent, and that's it. And he played a lot of the Visitor games. We're gonna check back in that direction. Go back in that direction in a little. But for now, let's just check out the game. So when you first spawn in, you essentially crash down your meteor. You show up a meteor, and there's a little tiny maggot worm that shows up. Looks something like this. Yeah. So it shows up, and your immediate thought is like, "Wow, what am I gonna do?" Well, it's a puzzle game. Yep, it's a point and click style puzzle game of a horror game, a mixture of the two, which sounds cool, and it is. So you essentially, just do all this stuff, put the fish on the line, you put the dog next to the bird, you eat the frog, or the frog eats you, and then you eat it on the inside. And one thing we're going to focus on are its abilities. Now, the Visitor has some strange abilities, as you'll see with these pictures right here. Uh, so his main ability is just to copy certain things he eats. So, like, if he eats a frog, he becomes bigger. As we saw, he was a tiny little maggot. Now he's a giant red frog-sized thing. And as we'll soon see later, if he eats like a raccoon, it gains its claws. If he eats like a bird, he turns into a bird. And if he eats a fish, he turns into like a fish-like creature. But ignoring that for a second, we then like launch into a sort of cabin-like thing where we notice a cat. And yes, I know, regretful choice of clothing. But anyways, so the cat notices us, and we have to like sneak past it. We do some fun puzzle things, and some flies and stuff. The cat gets distracted, and we like head into this little mouse hole. And after a puzzle, which I had never seen, like ever. Well, I've seen the puzzle, but I had never seen it in another Visitor game. I think this is the only time it's visible. It's this weird puzzle thing where you gotta turn knobs to like boost the Visitor up to like the windowsill. Because, you see, when you went into the little mouse hole, the cat put his face over there. And yeah, I think you know where this is going. If the Visitor is looking pretty like, oh, I've seen that before. You've probably seen this thumbnail of essentially, yeah. So like, you climb out of the like little mouse hole, and you go into the cat's butt. No, I'm not joking. I'm serious. And the amount of times I've seen so many people be shocked by this, specifically the YouTubers, is genuinely insane to me. Just spit right there. But yeah, you eat the cat and you become bigger. You don't like gain its cat abilities, like being a piece of crap. But anyways, you go into the house and you run into this woman and her dog. So, the puzzle is simple. You just gotta put an orange in a blender, you blend it up, you open the blender, the woman walks away, you turn on the sink, you open this little, I don't know what it's called, crap. Cabinet? Cabinet. It's a cabinet. You open this little cabinet and put a knife in it. The woman slips on the water, falls into the knife, dies. Yikes. Yikes, Rooney, sorry. And that kind of reminded me of a death from the Chucky series. I watched the dead meat kill count. But anyways, you don't eat the dog because you're not big enough to face the dog. And you end up going through this air vent. You go through it, and you go into this fish tank. You eat the fish, you become bigger. You eat this bird, and you eventually, eat this guy. You become bigger, which is a strange thing, because we never really know. Because, he'll eat multiple humans, as we'll see later in its, I want to say, 4th game. Yes, there's a lot of games. Not that many, actually. There's only 4. But, as we'll see, this rule kind of changes. In fact, a lot of the rules and things change. But eventually, he eats the guy, and he just goes down and eats his friend, and he becomes this big, giant monster. And we see one of the last person, hiding in the bathroom. But the visitor busts in, eats him, and flies away. But that's not the end. As we'll soon find out, there are multiple endings in each game. Specifically, the first one, the second one, and the fourth one, ignoring the third one. I'll get to that one in a bit. But yeah, there are two endings. The first ending is you, killing the visitor. Jesus Christ, I'm bad at grammar. You kill the visitor, and it's either you, put him in this bathtub and shock him, but he's still alive, so you gotta, get the gun out of a cabinet and shoot him. Or you just shoot him, and that's it. And that's the end of the first game, and now we return with The Visitor Returns. Now, real quick, I want to say that I'm not going through these games, because I'm not sure which game came out first, whether that was Visitor Camp Massacre or The Visitor Returns, but we're just gonna do The Visitor Returns. But with that out of the way, so we first start out in a camp. Just kidding, in RV. Or, actually, hold on, let me look. I kind of forgot. I know the middle ground, I just don't know when we start. Okay, there are slight differences. For one, you don't even, show up as a tiny little orange maggot anymore. You show up as a big red monster. Just kidding. You show up as your normal self, as if you already ate the frog. And you just randomly just hop in on a raccoon trying to get in some trash. After some puzzle solving with a lawnmower and a hammer and removing wood, you knock the trash can down. And the raccoon goes to eat it, you hide in the trash, you eat the raccoon, and as I said, you gain its claws. So, pretty simple stuff. You then go over to the RV, have to deal with the skunk. So first, you deal with the spider, which is doing absolutely nothing. You eat the spider, you gain its web abilities, its webby abilities. Yeah, chew. You get its abilities. And you then have to, figure out how to deal with the skunk. You gotta put some logs in a, fire that up, get some beans popping. The bean can pops open, you eat the skunk. You gain its skunk abilities, and you head into the house. There's a dog and a man. You gotta deal with the dog before you deal with the man. So, first off, you eat a scorpion and gain its little scorpion things. And then you deal with the dog by having it, bark a lot, or, you knock a matches over. And you then, sadly eat the dog, which means, boo, visitor, you killed the animals to eat, yeah. So then you go back, you try to kill the man. Turns out he's staying strapped with the knife and just chucks it down at you. And then you die. You die a lot in these games. That's why it's a puzzle game. But anyways, you go and, distract the man by pouring alcohol on his shoulder and lighting it on fire. He gets distracted and you pull his tongue out from his chin, which, surprises the wife. Wife gets scared, shuts the door, starts shooting her gun. You then have to crawl because remember, spider, and you like crawl out of the window to the other window. But if you try to go in by yourself, you get shot. So you gotta get this bottle, and so it looks like you. Kind of weird, but okay. You get the bottle, woman shoots at it, you eventually end up in the windowsill. Now, whereas the first game is actually not as known as the second game, this scene, this specific scene of you like standing by this Karen, was all over the freaking internet. My God, there were two specific scenes that were very, very, very infamous when it came to the visitor and the game. First off, as I said before, the cat butthole scene where you slither up the cat's bottom and, become bigger. And this was the number one scene of, like, the visitor thing, where you, like, stand with multiple options on how to kill this Karen woman with the Karen haircut. The first way is suffocation. Well, first you gotta make her puke with your little skunk ability. Make her puke. You either web her up, suffocate her. You do a little scorpion thing. Foam at the mouth stuff. You claw her heart or not. You claw her like head off. You claw her thing, her chest, and you take out her either through a little chomp from like the dog teeth or the scorpion thing. But the main thing is this final one. This pretty big worded one, while the others are kind of medium sized. This one's the big one. Mutation. And what you do is that you essentially have to do all of them. So you gotta web up her gun. You gotta make her puke. You gotta open her chest. You gotta throw heart out, I think. And then you crawl inside and you become a freaking monster Karen. Oh my God. And it was always that thumbnail, it would always like say the freaking mutation or something. It was always a thumbnail of like, I'm the mutant Karen now or something. Specifically, Jacksepticeye Markiplier did it. But whatevs, man. That's cool. Either way, The Visitor 1, pretty good. I put it in A tier. A tier game. But the sequel was much more known, and a lot of people knew that stupid Karen mutation. So I'm gonna have to put it on S, and it was very infamous, that one scene. But now we go to the third game, and this is when things starts to get confusing. Yeah. So the third game, it's called Camp Massacre. Specifically, it's called The Visitor Massacre at Camp Happy. What in the Fairly Odd Parents name is that? But anyways, so it's very different from the first two games. And when I mean very different, I mean super different. Like, my Jesus. It's like, how when Plants vs. Zombies started out as a good game, and then, Plants vs. Zombies 2 got microtransactions and freaking ruined it? But it was still somewhat the same game. And then the third one came along and made things 3D. Yeah, that's essentially what happens. But it doesn't make anything 3D. But it's very different gameplay. Sorry, I'm looking down. So, this game has you play as the visitor. Like all of them. Jesus Christ. You have these, 4 friends in a camp. At Camp Happy. And they each, go on their own little journey, I guess. Because one of their friends must have gotten lost or something. I think that's how it went. Either one of them friends got killed, but they don't know it, so they go looking for her, or one of the friends died, or they got lost. You get the point. One of their friends is lost, so they gotta go look for them. But on the way, the visitor crashes in, and this time he doesn't just spawn in as the little red slug. No, he spawns in as the red worm. Or sorry, he spawns in a meteor. But he's still the red slug for some reason. I don't know why. So, during this whole journey, a lot of things change. So first off, you're turning into multiple different forms. You're not just eating a bunch of animals and taking, some kind of mutated form at the end of it. No, you're just eating different animals, and you'll end up looking like these, mostly these 3. You'll either have these little arms and, scatter around, be able to scatter through these trees. You'll either look like a bird, or a fish. And that's it. Now, a lot of people played this game. Not a lot of people, I mean the YouTubers. The YouTubers were still on this game. They played Visitor 1, Visitor 2, and Visitor Massacre Camp Happy. But we're not there yet to the fourth one, because I'll get into that one a bit. But the main thing is that the gameplay changed a lot. But it was still pretty okay. It was still a puzzle game. That's good. But it was very different, especially for the third Visitor game. You'd think they would have just updated the graphics, have a bigger landscape, more puzzles, all that stuff. But no, they changed the gameplay completely. But the main thing is you end up, or the main ending, I guess you could say, is that you end up killing, all of the people. You end up killing some of these randos, like this guy who's like, oh, I know there's a monster out here, but I'm just gonna, be here because, I'm a tough guy, you are not. And then you kill a guy who's like nude in the river, but eventually you get to the main guy, and you kill him, and you hear on the news that apparently, a bunch of people were murdered at like Camp Happy and stuff, and that's like the first like and only lore drop, is that, news exists. That's it. We don't really know much about the creature yet. I'm just kidding. We never learn. But yeah. It's fine game. It's just weird that it's like very different from the first two. It's very different. Okay, time for the fourth one. Where did it all go wrong? Okay, so Visitor 4. I don't have a problem with this game. The main problem I have with it is that it ends so abruptly. So, let's just get into this. Alright, so the Visitor 4, or the Visitor, I kind of forgot, videotapes, I don't know, it's the Visitor something. Okay, so it's not given a real proper name. It's one of those things where it's like, episodic things, different chapters. So, we're just gonna look at chapter 1 and 2. You'll see why in a minute. So, the first chapter is called Kitty Carnage, or The Visitor and the Kitty Carnage. It's essentially about this old woman living in the house with a bunch of cats, a bunch of little cats, and you gotta kill them. And you first have to, like, first off, this game is, like, very obviously, it's sort of like they, like, got the first game, it's the same, went to the second game, the same. Third game changed a lot. And the second game, or more specifically the fourth one, stayed the same. Which is weird, but okay. So you have to deal with these three cats. You have to deal with these three cats. You got the ginger, you got the one-eyed cat, you got the white cat, and you gotta deal with them, each in different ways. You first have to get the cat, the ginger one, to like come in the kitchen and eat you. And you slither up its mouth and you pop out. But strangely, you don't change for some reason. Weird. But anyways, you then have to deal with the other one, because if you try to follow the granny, because she went into another room, you will die. You will get clawed and you will die. You will die of painful death, and you get sliced in half. But anyways, so you gotta deal with it, and you gotta do this molecular puzzle. Now, what's weird is that you have, like, this strange thing. It's not like the first game, which is a point and click. No, you have to combine objects in order to progress. You gotta combine them with the victim. For some weird reason, you have to combine things, and you gotta combine them. Like, you gotta combine a bowl of, like, meat and stuff into, like, a pet bowl and stuff, You gotta put, like, shotgun shells in the shotgun. Stuff like that. Which is strange. Which, like, it's still, like, the same gameplay. It's still a puzzle game, but it's really weird that both of their, like, 1, 3, and 4... 3 and 4, not 1 and 2. 3 and 4 are just the same puzzle. Like, they're a puzzle game, but they're, like, very different from the, like, first two puzzle games. But anyways, so the way you, get rid of the other cat is that you, like, point a laser pointer using some, like, gravity, some, like, candies in a bag and stuff, and, you eventually make a platform for the little tiny white cat to, just go up to the fan and get sliced in half. How fast was that fan? I'd like to apologize for my outburst. But you get to the final cat, the gray one, and this one is difficult to deal with, as it has 9 lives. So you gotta first, like, actually, I don't remember how you first deal with it. I think you have to, like, knock it off its little cat post. You knock it off, it cracks its neck. You electrocute it, it kind of brings it back to life, I guess. Kind of like a Frankenstein animal, I'm not sure. You then get a vase, you knock it out, you open this cabinet with, like, a shotgun in it. You go get the shotgun cells, which were, like, also with the little, like, yellow key, and you open it. There's a knife and 2 shotgun shells. You get the shotgun shells, you load up the shotgun, and you shoot the cat. Then, you cut the cat's head off. What in God's name? I'd like to apologize to all of you. You do not deserve to hear this. Oh, God. But anyways, so you, like, cut the cat's head off, but it's still moving. Its body is still moving. Its head is still moving. So you shoot the cat's body. You shoot into the fire. You put alcohol in the fire. You light it on fire. What in the absolute terrifier is going on? But oh wait, we're still not done. You still gotta deal with the cat's head, dummy. Yeah, so this, like, specific part of the level is just about, like, this gray cat, and it's like Terminator. It's not dying. So you gotta stab it with the knife in its eye. Then you gotta hang it by, like, a moose, deer antler thing. I don't know. It's weird, man. They did not need to do that to that poor cat, I guess. Trying to protect its owner. But anyways, you finally get to go to the granny's room and all that stuff. Quick recommendation, don't watch my videos at night, because you'll be surprised of how loud they get. Okay, so we reached the final level. And they're obviously, first off, I gotta say, the 2 visitor games, the first 2, have multiple endings. Obviously, I said the first one, you have to, like, you become the monster, eat the guy in the bathroom, and you fly away. But the second, option is you kill the monster, which was very strange, because once again, they don't revisit that, just like with the pipe, like, puzzle, they don't revisit that for some reason, but they have it in the first game, which is really strange. But the main thing they're following is that you can, like, kill the victim in a different way, like with that Karen and the mutation stuff, all that. So you have 3 ways of killing it. One is with, like, a balloon and stuff, and, like, you put, like, first off, when you killed the ginger cat, it, like, exploded, but its skin was still there. So you put the skin in, like, the granny's oxygen tank, you turn it up all the way, you call the grandma, you explode the cat, they both die. And the second, I think it was, option is eat them all, which you, like, just eat them all. You eat, like, all the, like, organs and pieces left behind by everyone, and you turn into the giant monster, which is weird because you would have done that anyways. But anyways, weird. The main way you kill the granny is by sneaking into her bathroom, fogging up her glasses, sneaking into her glass where she keeps her teeth, and then you, or more specifically, the granny eats you, and you pop out with teeth in your mouth. And of course, in Eat 'em All, it shows that you essentially evolve into a bigger version of yourself. Or more specifically, you, like, grow little snouts due to, like, cats. So, like, whatever. Now we get to the second episode. Slumber Party Massacre, I think. Hold on, let me check. Sleepover Slaughter, sorry. Wrong one. But anyways, so you first start out, and you gotta sneak your way into the little room. So first you gain claws by a squirrel. You trick a squirrel into eating some, like, birdseed and whatever. You eat the squirrel. You, like, crawl up this little air conditioning vent, and you meet this guy, who I'm 90% certain his name is Chad, or some variation of that. But anyways, so the way you deal with Chad is that you hang this little sock, and, you make it stink. You make the sock stink because he's doing laundry. You put the sock next to Chad. You hop in the sock. You press the laundry detergent, or not laundry. You press the washer, and, you open it up. You open up the washer, and, Chad's like, oh, what is that? What's going on? What's that smell? He smells the sock, and you tear his face off. Typical stuff. Then after that, you just slightly cut open. Oh, it's everywhere. Oh my god, I'm sorry. You slice his guts. I'm sorry I'm saying this so calmly, but I've seen this so many times, I'm genuinely desensitized to it. I don't even think I was affected it when I was like 6. Weird. Anyways, after you deal with that, you then have to deal with these 3 girls. You have to deal with this one, the blind one, and this one, which reminds me of Heather from Total Drama for some reason. But anyways, you then deal with them in specific ways. And in a puzzle, I really, really like. So you have to go up to this, computer, you type in the password, and you have to go on their, like, Facebook pages or face poop. I don't know what it's called. I think it was some variation of poop. No, I'm not kidding. But anyways, you gotta go up to their, like, Facebook things, and you gotta just, like and unlike a video or a picture of them. So the main ones you're supposed to like is a picture of nachos. And the second one you're supposed to like is a picture of like a hat. You're supposed to like the nachos and like the hat. So that way the 2 girls end up fighting. Or I think you're supposed to do it like this. You're supposed to unlike one of the girls' pictures and then like one of the other girls' pictures. It's a very confusing puzzle. It actually does sound confusing, but when it returns, you just essentially like one of the girls' pictures, which is nachos, and like the picture that has like a hat. The girls then get upset and realize, oh, if I want him to like me, I'm gonna have to do the other girls' thing. So the first girl, the blonde one, goes to get some nachos from the kitchen. Then the other girl goes to put on a funny little hat. So you, as the visitor, gotta go deal with that. You then go to the kitchen, and you gotta, first off, you gotta find some chips. You place the chips down. You use some paint. Yes, paint, not cheese, paint. Some yellow paint. You put it on the nachos, and then you find these little green things in someone's purse. I don't know what they are. Are they weed? I don't know. But then you place them on the nachos. So then the girl, the blonde one, goes into the kitchen and finds the nachos. And she starts taking selfies. It's all good. But then you surprise attack her. And you use your hands and freaking use her tongue. And just launch it right into her freaking neck. And it comes out her mouth. And this sounds really gory. But if you watch it, it looks so dumb. And it's so cartoonish. That's the thing with this one. Is that it's way more cartoony than the first one. Because, like, both the second and the first one were pretty realistic, even though we didn't really have much to go off, which I'll get into later. But for now, let's just go up to the other girl. The girl's doing some little duck lips, some of that, with the hat. So you gotta surprise her, and you, like, pop out of her face, and you end up, like, with the duck lips, and it's really freaking funny. That's all. But then you finally get to the final girl that reminds me of Heather so much. You then have to, like, make a little, like, thing or something. I forget what it's called. You gotta, like, make this little thing. You gotta get a coat hanger. You gotta hang the guy's face, because as I said, his face got peeled off. You gotta put it on the stand. You gotta put his jacket on the coat hanger. Make it look like him when it's not him. You then gotta go to the circuit breaker with, like, one of those little paper clips. You then unlock the circuit breaker and turn off the power to her room. She then panics. She then sees you as, because she can't see very well. She then sees you. She then hugs you. But then you chomp out her heart. You grab her chest and you just take out her heart. And she's just there with doing jazz hands, I guess. I don't know. Okay. And that was Sleepover Slaughter. And eventually you become this big boy monster. But then we're given a little sneak peek at the next episode called Homeroom Massacre. It's not called Homeroom. It's called Home Party Havoc. And it looks pretty good. It looks like a frat party. And, the visitor gets all big. And then it ends. There are also some more deleted scenes, as they call them. Extra episodes and stuff. Extra gameplay where you, like, kill the others in, like, different ways. Some really stupid, like this one puzzle where you gotta, open a teddy bear, fill it with, like, glass, and the Heather girl hugs it, and she literally stabs herself. It's really dumb. But you see, how I said we were only gonna do the first 2? that being Cat Massacre and Slumber Party Panic or something. Well, that's because they never made a follow up. Yep, it's one of those games. So, yes, they never really did make a third chapter, third episode, whatever. They did never make it. They did never make it. Yep, they did never make it, guys. They never made it. And for the reason why, we don't know. But I think I do know some reasons why. The first reason is I need you guys to understand that a Flash game is someone's passion. Something that someone makes is indeed someone's passion, especially if it's like an indie something or just a thing made in like Newgrounds and stuff. It's someone's real passion. They put effort in it, you know. And let's just say it gets really popular. Then you gotta make more of that thing because people like it and it's your passion. But you do it too much. Two things happen. Two things. Either one, you just become less passionate of that stuff and it just becomes more of a chore than anything. And number two, you just decide to roll with it, or like you keep doing it and like it just outgrows itself. It just ends up not only not being passionate, but people just don't like it anymore. And that's what I think happened to The Visitor. Everyone knows about the first and second and third game, specifically Markiplier and Jacksepticeye. But no one knows about this game. I looked on Markiplier's channel. He played Visitor 1, Returns, and Massacre at Camp Happy. As for Jacksepticeye, he played Returns and the first one. No one played this. At least, not big YouTubers. But, you wanna know who did? So remember at the beginning of this video, I wanted you to keep this YouTuber in mind, Double J. Well, I remember when I discovered the Visitor video, I remember I found like a For You page on my like YouTube thing, and or as I like to call it, the For YouTube page. Yeah, funny. But anyways, I found him and like weird thing. I found him. I found Double J. Like weird. Anyways, so like I found him on like my For YouTube page, and like I discovered that he like really liked the Visitor. Like really like. If you go to his channel, he's like about Visitor. There are like a bunch of videos about like the Visitor and stuff. But anyways, and he played this game. He played this, and like that's how I know about this game. So to know the fact that sorry, I thought I was gonna call. To know the fact that if I didn't know about this guy, or I just scrolled away from his like channel and stuff, I could have never heard about this game. I could have only known about the first one, the second one, and the third one, but I wouldn't know about the fourth one. So the fact is, did anyone play this? Well, kinda. Some people did play this, since, there's an episode 2, but I guess not enough people played it to make an episode 3. But something weird did happen. You see, they updated the game, because if you play it now, there's a home room. And if you go further away from, like, the old woman's house and the slumber party, you'll see a dog. But if you try to run past the dog, it will kill you. So it's essentially like a little wall in between you. And after you eventually, like, eat everyone, you'll eventually be strong enough to kill the dog. And eventually, you'll bypass him. And that's all they did. They did not make Home Party Havoc. They didn't do that. They just made an update where a dog tries to eat you, but you become stronger than the dog, and you eat the dog. That's what they did. They added animal cruelty. That's awesome. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at. In fact, that's not where we're at. That's like where we've been. In fact, that's not where we've been. That's like where it ends. Like, they're done. There has been no like update or anything I've heard. People have forgotten this game, which is strange to me. That's the weirdest part. People like often talk about FNAF or like other indie games specifically that were like made, and they are like truly iconic. Like FNAF, yeah, that's a pretty big brand. I don't know why I mentioned it, but like other stuff on Newgrounds, like people remember like all these like games they used to play, like Flash games they used to play as a kid, and like everyone remembers them, but no one remembers this game, even though it was very popular. And it's strange to me because it was one of the few games to actually be like a horror game, plus it was a puzzle game, and it was very like a creative idea, a point and click style horror game. It's pretty impressive. And that would be where I would end the video, I'd say, well, it was a good game, and I encourage you to play it, and that would be it. But that's not where we're ending it, actually, because in fact, I want to talk about four more things before we go. They're not gonna be long, but they're just gonna be sort of like a teaser, somewhat, to like probably a shorter video. So the Visitor was very popular, and I mean very popular. Big YouTubers were playing it. So what happened is it mostly inspired four games. The first one was this one called The Foreign Creature. You may have like known about it or may have seen it at one point due to this, iconic to be continued screen. You probably know it from that. And the second one, this one's called Astro Creep. Astro Creep is also another one you might have heard of, but specifically the first game, because one of the pretty much first things you do after you escape like your suit, which I'll get into hopefully if I ever make an Astro Creep video, is that you go up some dude's butt on the toilet. What is it with aliens and having anuses for faces? Or, sorry, having, like, a bunch of things to do with buttholes. That's the thing. A lot of people, like, talked about, specifically these, like, Markiplier and Jacksepticeye. They talked about how, like, it has an anus for a face. And, like, that game has a lot to do with anuses. But I'm losing track. There's also, Among the Sheep. But that's, like, very different from Astro Creep. It's very different. But it's made by the same guy, so I just wanted to mention that. And finally, there's Spime. Spime. Yeah, I don't know anything about it. I just, I thought I would include it because it seems like the kind of thing that would, like, seemingly be inspired by The Visitor. And that would be where I would end it. But there's still one more. You see, I found out, I think the developer of The Visitor actually made a game before this. Actually, two games before this. Well, actually, no. He made this after The Visitor. So you might be thinking, oh, what he made after The Visitor? Well, he made this. This is a pot of worms we're gonna have to get into next time, though, because what in piss. And that's pretty much it. That's where The Visitor doesn't even stand at this point. It's already dead. It's laying down. It's dead. Which is a shame, because it's one of those, like, iconic things that a bunch of YouTubers played, and yet somehow it, like, still doesn't get the recognition it deserves. Even though it's one of those iconic Flash games. But a bunch of these games sadly fell foot to the same thing as The Visitor. Sadly, the same fate. Yeah. But that's all I have for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment. Hopefully I got this comment thing down right, because I checked on my last video and it didn't work. But then, whatever, get that sorted out, I guess. But until next time, I'll see you guys. Till then, see y'all next time.